It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
With Ease US makes studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. The You Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. You Like.
All right, it's the Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacics. We are now in Morgantown, West Virginia, on the cusp of TCU and West Virginia to be played tomorrow. Going over to meet with Rich Rodriguez and the West Virginia coaches here in a little bit. And then before that, though, we're talking to Babe Laufenberg. That's coming up in about 10, 15 minutes. We're going to start off talking to Greg Cote, who is a longtime writer for the Miami Herald, has the Greg Cote Show, amazing columnist. And I want to get his take on this sports gambling stuff in the NBA. Quickly, before we get to Greg, just some thoughts from myself. Of course, the Pete Sousa Show is presented by Slovacics. One thing that came to mind yesterday as more and more of this news about this NBA gambling scandal broke, when the feds say this is the tip of the iceberg, That probably is the tip of the iceberg for their investigation, right? As far as evidence is concerned. I think for the NBA and for pro sports in general, this could be the tip of the iceberg. And here's my point quickly. And again, all I can do is base my my points in perspective really on experience. My opinions are never great, but when they're based on experience, they're at least you can at least digest them. They're at least palatable. When I was a young man, and I had a lot going on in my life. I mean, you guys know, sober for almost 14 years next week or next November 7th, which is awesome, right? But it was a lot of years of ugliness before that. And during that ugliness, I was doing public relations for the Charlotte Hornets and the Philadelphia 76ers. When I tell you I was privy to boatloads of inside information, I mean, I was. Now, I wasn't making a lot of money either. But to actually take that information, right, and to parlay that into loads of cash just took so many steps. Scotty, you're up right now, by the way.
I got Greg whenever you're ready.
Okay, 1 second. Let me finish this thought. So, Greg, we'll get with you in 1 second. So, it was tough to actually take like these ideas, maybe that Emeka Okafor wasn't going to play, right, in a game, or that Andre Iguodala wasn't going to play, or Sam Dallenberg wasn't going to play. If I had that information, there wasn't. I would have to tell a bookie, who would have to tell somebody else. It was like a whole gross paper trail, right? Just a huge pain in the ass, a lot of heavy lifting to get this stuff done. So you're like, you know what? Forget it. Nowadays with illegal gambling, right? It is really, it's a green light per se to so much nefarious behavior, right? That all I got to do is pull up my phone. Like if I know Emeka Okafor is not going to play, I can tell a friend of mine in Florida that he's not going to play and to bet $500 on FanDuel, and maybe we each split $250. Now that's Mickey Mouse stuff, but imagine someone with more to gain, right? Probably more to lose. Now, eventually, I think everybody's going to get caught, right? That's why they talk about the mob. Like it's more about the lifestyle and living the life than it really is like any kind of longevity. That was one of the things I was most shocked about, is that the mob is still in existence. But the legalization of sports gambling, I'm not saying it's going to be the end of existence or pro sports, but it's just so easy to take this information and to put it in play now. It's a scary time, but it's not scary for us on the Pete Sousa Show because we get to bring in longtime Miami Herald columnist on the phone, Greg Cote. He's got the Greg Cote Show. You know him, you've seen him, you love him. What's happening, Greg? Greg, you there? I don't quite hear Greg yet, Scotty, but that's okay because we can see his handsome face. Legendary columnist for the Miami Herald right now joining us. You got to check out his YouTube show, by the way. I was watching it last night, getting ready for this, and it's a fun show to watch. I mean, along with being an accomplished writer and such a terrific columnist, the Greg Cote Show is pretty good. Greg, you there?
Yeah, I am here. Thank you. I appreciate that.
There he is. Hey, no, it's the truth, and I've been a longtime fan of yours, and that brings me to my first question out of the gate this morning. What is the column that you would write this morning? At least give us some of, at least the crux and the most compelling points around this NBA gambling situation. What moves you about this story that you would want to share with readers?
If I were to localize it, as I probably would, I would write it from a Miami Heat angle rather than a national perspective, at least initially. And that would be, they're happy to get rid of Terry Rozier under any circumstances. He's been dead wood on this team for a couple of years. He's fallen out of the rotation. He's an aging, overpaid player who they've been trying to get rid of and trying to trade. And so he's the least of their problems. And, it's also, I think they're allowed to say it's not really our problem, meaning the Heat problem, because what Rozier allegedly did happened when he was with the Charlotte Hornets. So the Heat have sort of just inherited this mess. But obviously from a national perspective, if you're Adam Silver, your main headline is, wow, a head coach is involved in this, not just a a guy on the end of the bench, but a head coach. And so the NBA has a massive problem right now, and you have to figure that this is a tip of the iceberg type stuff. The story hasn't ended.
Well, you say tip of the iceberg, like that's my question. Like I was just talking before you came online about the legalization of sports gambling, and just I used to be a PR guy for the Sixers and for the Hornets, and I was privy to so much information. But in order for me to actually put that in play and make some money off it, it would have been a huge pain in the ass, right? I would have had to like literally go visit with like super shady figures. Now people can pull up their phone or send a message to somebody far away. Eventually, I think everybody's going to get caught if the numbers get big enough. But it certainly is a broken system, I guess I would say. How do you think the NBA moves forward, and most of pro sports leagues do, maintaining the integrity, but also keeping the legalization of sports gambling and this money train going?
Yeah, I don't know how they do that, but it is a big mess because, obviously, if you're the NFL or any major league, you're afraid to say it, but you love gambling because gambling is why people are still watching a game that has a 12-point spread with a minute and a half left, because they bet on the under on 12 and a half. So gambling is a big reason why it draws ratings, right? And it was a few years ago, gradually over time, all of these leagues, there used to be a strict wall between these pro sports and gambling, and the wall has crumbled. And now you see big entities like DraftKings and FanDuel, sponsoring leagues, and all of a sudden the leagues are in bed with gambling in a lot of different ways to a lot of different levels. And I think this is a byproduct of that. I really do. And what involved Terry Rozier was a guy he knew who cozied up to him, a professional gambler, is betting on 30 different unders on prop bets. And the game that he placed those 30 bets on, Rozier mysteriously, leaves the game after 9 minutes and hits on every one of those 30 unders. So that's either the world's biggest coincidence or it's incriminating.
Yourself covering sports in Miami for as long as you have, what's the biggest gambling scandal you've ever been around or had the opportunity or I guess responsibility of covering prior to this?
Yeah, this could be it. And Rozier has been involved in this for a couple of years, but this is the first time he's actually been arrested. I guess this is it. I can't think of a lot of it. There have been peripheral things, but this directly hits the team, even though, as I say, this happened when he was a Charlotte player, so it doesn't really implicate the Heat. Just like the thing involving LeBron James now, LeBron isn't implicated. It's just somebody else connected to his team that had privy information to whether or not he's going to play that night, and so have it. So, yeah, I think this would probably be it.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly should be. I can't remember the last time. Like literally, I never thought, again, you'd hear stuff in the 80s and 70s about the mob being involved. And, I guess in this situation, it's more with the poker games. But the fact that the tentacles are involved in touching a pro sports league through a head coach is about as dramatic as it comes. How do you think the NBA moves forward with this thing spinning out, having involved a head coach in the league? Because you started it by saying earlier, that to me is something that is just amazing. I was overwhelmed by a head coach being involved. And now it's possible that it wasn't just the poker stuff. Maybe he was giving injury information to someone.
Yeah, I think when you reach the head coach level, it's a whole different ball game because you expect it to be the Terry Rozier level, right? You expect it to be, the bit player, the guy at the end of the bench, not the prominent figure. And so if it's a superstar player or if it's a head coach, that's a whole different level. And right now it's out of the NBA's hands, right? The FBI is investigating this. So this is their business now. And all Adam Silver can do is wait to see what the next dominoes to fall are. The NBA can conduct its own separate investigation, but this is an FBI matter now. So, I can only imagine that we've not seen the end, but just the beginning of the story. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this doesn't scandalize the entire NBA and really eat at the integrity of the game, because I sort of do trust Adam Silver and him trying to represent that hey, this is not a corrupt league. This is just one incident, but we'll see.
Last question. Do you think the NBA dropped the ball with the Terry Rozier investigation? They pretty much say, okay, go ahead, go back and play. And then, obviously the FBI has more resources and clearly more motivation and evidence now. But do you think the NBA sort of missed the ball there?
Yeah, I have to say yes. I think the NBA has a vested interest that the FBI does not have. The NBA, it's to their benefit for this to just go away. For them to say, yeah, we investigated, we didn't find anything else there. Let's move on. Let's forget about it. Let's not even talk about it. The NBA, that's to their advantage. The FBI, it's to their advantage to uncover this as deeply as they can. And when it spreads to the mafia and to poker and all of that, you can tell that this is a massive investigation that's far-reaching, and that the NBA is just a part of it.
Greg Cote, I'll let you get back to it, man. And I encourage people to check out the Greg Cote Show. Of course, everybody's familiar with your work with the Miami Herald as a columnist. Thanks so much, man. It's really cool to catch up with you, somebody who I've read and looked up to for a long time.
I really appreciate that, Pete, and anytime for you.
You got it. Thanks so much, Greg. All right, there he goes, legendary columnist Greg Cote. By the way, Scotty, that was a great graphic. Thank you so much for doing that. That was kick-ass work. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back with Babe Laufenberg. We're talking to Babe about the Cowboys. They're taking on the Denver Broncos this weekend. Babe's about to take off for Denver. And we talked to him. I want to know a little bit about his roots. He came up through Indiana football playing for Lee Corso. Let's find out, by the way, if Indiana's a football school now. Babe will tell us. He played for the Hoosiers and, of course, the Cowboys. Colorful career, colorful guy. We're back with that after the break. The Pete Sousa Show is presented by Slovacics.
Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
Experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
BosleyMD.com.
Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress, that helps you calm down and feel better. You sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at FullwellFertility.com. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at GEVI.com to discover more.
It's the Pete Sousa Show.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
Pete Sousa Show rolls on with a legend, a football legend, a Dallas Cowboys legend, an Indiana Hoosier legend. Let's bring in the great Babe Laufenberg right now. Babe, what's happening?
I'm doing well, thank you. A legend might be a little strong, but I'll take it. But I do have to point out my high school, okay, where I grew up in Los Angeles, Crespi High School. We are 8-0. We are undefeated. My college, Indiana, is 7-0.
From Burbank to Bloomington, baby. You're undefeated right now.
That's exactly right. And Troy Aikman's a good friend of mine, and we're going to bloody UCLA's nose tomorrow.
So I wanted to start by asking you that question. You know, you and one of the other ultimate football personalities, Lee Corso, team up at Indiana. Can you describe to me and folks who don't know about that situation, how did you end up playing at Indiana for Lee Corso. By the way, you invented the transfer portal. If you look back at the Babe Laufenberg track record there in college.
That's exactly right. I was in the transfer portal before there was such a thing. And I'll tell you who put me in the transfer portal. I went to Stanford my freshman year, recruited, coming out of high school. Bill Walsh was the head coach. And the next year, John Elway came to Stanford. And as a quarterback, I always say if I was smart enough to get into Stanford, I was smart enough to know when to leave. And when Elway came to campus and, was throwing a 50-yard out pretty much on the line, that ball never left 6 feet in height, I said, okay, maybe time for the Bambino to transfer. So, I took a little circuitous route. Back in those days, so USC was my second choice coming out of high school. In those days, you had to sit out 2 years if you transferred within the conference, and you could not be on scholarship. So it was pretty penal. So anyway, went to junior college so that I could play. So played in junior college. Lee Corso came out and recruited me there, and the rest is history. So you had a great time playing for Coach Corso. We still keep in touch. We talk every couple of weeks. He's great, just what you see on TV. Although I will tell you this, when he was coaching, all those cute sayings that he has now, he would use them, but they were not meant in the same vein. He would talk about, with the whole not so fast, my friend. Excuse me. He would talk about, hey, if you think we're going to go up to Ann Arbor, Michigan, we're just going to lay our jocks on the field, and we're going to just go out and be not so fast, my friend. And he put an F-bomb in before the not so effing fast, my friend. So now it's all cute, right? He's got the Ticonderoga pencil and not so fast, my friend. Let me just tell you, I love that now, and everybody loves the not so fast, my friend. Oh boy, did it wear me out when you were playing for him.
He wasn't as cute and as cuddly.
No.
Was there something you learned from him that you took with you through your days playing into the NFL? If there was one nugget, something that, a lot of times coaches or people who impact us, we sort of hear their voices sometimes in the back of our head. Anything he told you that stuck with you?
There were a number of things, but I'd like to say, he taught me television because I was a CBS anchor here for 17 years, still do some TV, obviously do the Cowboys on radio. But I always tell him when I'd see him, I say, hey, Coach, you're lucky. So he got fired after my senior year. But I said, Coach, you're lucky, I wasn't a better player. Because if I were a better player, you'd still be coaching. You'd be working twice as hard. You'd be making half the money. And everybody hates you as a head coach. I said, look, you're on TV now. I said, everybody loves you. You make twice the money and you work half the time. So I said, I should get a commission from you.
This is sticking with Indiana. This is the toughest question I'll ask you all morning.
Okay.
Is Indiana a football school right now? Like let's because I was just at I do college basketball and college football, and I was at Big 12 Media Days, and everybody's talking about Indiana football there. And a couple of the basketball guys were like, Indiana's always going to be a basketball school. There's no debate about it. But I found it funny that it is a debate now. Like for you, somebody who's got skin in the game as an Indiana football player, can you grant us some perspective on that?
Well, certainly basketball in Indiana, probably the most coveted title. You would rather say that my son was Mr. Basketball in the state of Indiana, which goes to the top high school player, than my son is the president of the United States, or my son is the CEO at Google.
And that's
Apple.
real.
Oh, it's real. It's real.
Yeah.
But now these kids growing up, if you're a 10 or 13-year-old kid, that's kind of when we also think of, following teams and watching sports and watching, liking players. I mean, you've got to be an Indiana football fan, don't you? And Curt Cignetti is great. Matter of fact, Jason Garrett, a very good friend of mine, lives here in Dallas, lives 5 minutes from me. We've been friends for 30 years. He did the Indiana-Michigan State game last week. And so I told him, I said, now you finally made it in life. I mean, the head coach of the Cowboys for 9 years, that was cool. And doing the Sunday night football games, that's kind of cool. But I said, now you've made it, baby. You've done a game in Bloomington, Indiana. But it is fantastic, though, Pete, because, after games in the NFL, you go across field and, if you went to USC, you went to Notre Dame, you went to Alabama, you went and said hello to 5 of your buddies that were on the other team, right, that you played with. And at Indiana, game ended, and you couldn't find another Indiana guy on the other side of the field. But that obviously is changing. But I'll go back a little ways. I'm a little older than you and probably 99% of your listeners, but back in the day before Bobby Bowden, Florida State was terrible. There are a number of schools that you would look at 30 years ago or whatnot, and they were horrible.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah.
So I do think it can change. Obviously, Indiana is always going to be a big basketball school, but especially with the transfer portal and NIL, Indiana had a smaller recruiting base of athletes playing football. Really, the good athletes there, they played basketball. That was the thing, and I'm sure that's going to change somewhat. But if you're in Ohio, State, you can recruit the state of Ohio and have a national championship team. USC did the same. USC never had to leave Los Angeles before, and they can put together a national championship team. That wasn't the way it was at Indiana.
I'm here in West Virginia today, and because I have their football game on tomorrow, and I was talking to one of the radio broadcasters, and they were saying how homecoming is so great because, and this made me think of you guys. So I'll get there in a second. But he said homecoming is great. People from college, that you knew 50 years ago. Those are the type of friends that you'll all come meet back here. You're still friends today. You and Troy and Jason Garrett are almost like a college team, like college teammates. Really, you guys, I can't imagine that there are 3 quarterbacks from the same, aura time frame for a professional organization that are as close as you 3. Can you describe that relationship, how you guys got so connected and how you're still so connected today? Every time I turn around, Troy's posting something, he's got his beer up there and it's you guys, or you're hanging out at Mikosina in Highland Park. It's really cool. It's a warm, fuzzy deal.
Yeah, you know what, funny, Pete? We call it quarterback meeting. But I might text them and say, hey, 4:00 quarterback meeting tomorrow. And do we talk quarterbacks and football? Yes, but do we talk a lot of other things as well? Absolutely. But it has been sort of a unique relationship. And I guess part of it is the fact that all 3 of us still live here in Dallas and really live within about 10 minutes of each other. So I don't want to say it's easy to get together, but I think we all enjoy it. It's been 30 years since we have been friends. Actually, Troy and I, my last 2 years in the NFL were with Dallas, and those were Troy's first 2 years. So he was a rookie in '89. I came in '89. It was my 7th year in the league, but I came to Dallas from San Diego, back when San Diego had a football team in '89. And so we were teammates 89, 90, and we've kept that relationship going. And then Jason came along. I was gone. I think he came in '92, but ironically, in that time we lived in the same apartment complex. So I'd kind of see him there, and obviously being quarterbacks, you kind of talk the same language. And we've just been great friends for, again, 30 years. With Troy, it's been 35, and I hope it's another 35.
How have you seen Troy change from when he was a young guy that came there? Remember, he's battling with Steve Walsh. That was kind of what led to you kind of being out of town a little bit, because the Walsh and there were extra quarterbacks there. But how did Troy, you saw him there as just a fierce, fiery competitor. I'm sure he still is today, but I'm sure he's changed as well.
Yeah, he thinks he is mellowed, but I don't think so. He's trying all this self-improvement stuff. And no, I tell you what, he is as honest a person as I know. He is as loyal a person as I know. But yeah, he does not suffer fools gladly. And I think if you probably listen to the Monday Night Football broadcast, you would probably understand that. But I think what softened him a little bit, honestly, he has 2 daughters. One is still in college. One just graduated. Matter of fact, they both graduated, excuse me. So anyway, I think those girls softened him a little. And it's interesting because, when you're in that athletic world, and, Troy was a guy like a lot of us back in those days, you played football, you played basketball, you played baseball. I went to an all boys high school. your professional career, all you're doing is surrounding yourself with anywhere from 50 to 100 men. Your coaches are men for the most part.
Yeah.
So it's a testosterone-laden world. And it's funny because I have two boys, and I thought, I probably need a girl just to soften me up a little bit and see the other side of that. And Troy got that. Troy got that with his two girls. And we always, Jason and I, at our thing, we kidded him the one day about, can you imagine a young man, high school kid, right? And wanting to date his daughter. Not that you can't imagine that, but now you got to go meet Troy. And Troy made sure they came in the house and he had to meet them before they went out. It wasn't honk the horn, at the curb and my daughter will come running out. And then he would sit him down in the office, his office. Boy. And he thought it was like normal. Yeah. And Jason and I just had to laugh going, are you crazy? Like you like The Godfather, like Marlon Brando petting the cat in the opening scene, with everybody coming in to see him. Yeah. Can you imagine how intimidated those poor kids were that grew up here in Dallas? And now Troy Aikman is laying down the law, and here's what's going to happen with my daughter tonight. And I guarantee you, because again, he can be pretty firm. If he said, and I want her home at 11 o'clock tonight and not a minute after, I guarantee you they were home by 9:30. He would have put the fear of God in them.
Well, at least those kids are probably happy. At least Troy had you and Jason to break his balls a little bit, soften him.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say this. I'm around him a lot. He has been a great father to those two girls. I think if you were to say, what's your greatest accomplishment? I will guarantee you, he would say raising, these two beautiful, intelligent young girls that he has kind of nurtured and got through the world.
One more personal deal before we get to the Cowboys. I had to talk to you about other stuff than just the Dallas Cowboys, if that's all right.
Sure.
I'm a big fan of yours. Your son, 21 years old, passes away from leukemia. You do an amazing job of keeping his memory alive, but at the same time, there's a zest for life that you still have, that you share as almost part of him with the rest of the world. I lost my brother 2 years ago to cancer at 50 years old. It happened so fast. How have you been able to move through the grief and still you make other people happy that are going through a tough time, but you know what it's like to go through the toughest of times? How do you still wear life like a loose shirt today after going through all that?
It's a good question because anybody, and first off, sorry about the loss of your brother. Doesn't matter how old they are. They're not supposed to go at that age, right? My son was diagnosed at 19. Luke kind of beat it. He got a very rare and aggressive form of cancer. It's called Burkitt lymphoma or Burkitt leukemia. And it was the odds were against him getting through the first round of his disease. He got out the backside. He was back playing football at UTEP. Took him a year to get his body back. He went from about 240 pounds to 150. If you can imagine what that looks like. But I've never seen a kid work harder. And it's funny, when you lose a child, I always tell people, I won't live long enough to get over it. You try to get through it every day, and every day you just put one foot in front of the other. It's funny because there are days you don't want to see tomorrow. It is that it guts you that much. And we always know inherently, I never had I've got 5 brothers and sisters, friends, never had anyone that I knew well lose a child. And inherently, boy, it's the worst thing that could happen to you. But then when it does happen to you, it's 100 times worse than anything you could have ever imagined. But Luke was, I know stud is a little bit antiquated term, but the kid was a stud, and I don't mean as a football player. He was a pretty good football player, but just the way he went about handling it, never complained. Never complained. Didn't mean he didn't throw up and all the other stuff that comes with it, and he wasn't in terrible pain, but he never asked why me. I swear it was like, he probably spent 100 nights in the hospital through this treatment. It wasn't something where you went in, took your chemo for 2 hours and got home. He'd be in for a week, 2 weeks. But anyway, the long and short is, I think we all as parents try to teach our kids, how to deal with life, how to deal with adversity. And he showed me more than I ever showed him about how to deal with life. He was amazing. And it's funny, Pete always had a smile on his face. I look at the photos or send somebody a photo or whatever it is. Didn't matter whether he was playing football with his buddies, in the hospital with a dog. Every photo, you hardly can find a photo without him with a big old smile on his face. It was almost like he knew something about life that we didn't, because the way he went through it. One of his favorite words, Pete, by the way, was amazing. He said, "Hey," we all say, "Hey, how was dinner?" "Yeah, it was okay." I'd say, "Look, how was dinner?" "Oh, Daddy, amazing." "Hey, how was the movie?" "Oh, Daddy, amazing." Everything was amazing. I think we should go through life. Hey, when I finish this show, somebody's gonna ask me, how was it going on the Pete Sousa show? And I'm going to say, amazing.
Thank you. But it's cool. I mean, it's a weird place to say thank you, but when I was going through my struggles, I would still see you posting about Luke, and I knew, I was like, there's a way out, and it's weird who you can affect, or it's nice who you can affect, right? And give some hope to,
Then I will tell you quickly, there's probably not a day goes by here and that I don't get someone coming up to me saying, I follow you. By the way, if people want to follow me, I'm at Babe Laufenberg, just pretty simple, at Babe Laufenberg on the Twitter. And I will post things about Luke and different things that he said, did, photos, whatever it is. And I inevitably, once a day, twice a day, somebody come up to me that I don't know and say, Babe, I just want you to know Luke inspires me every day. I had a guy come up and say, I was going to work out. I broke my toe. And I said, well, I don't have to work out. And then he said, Luke would have worked out. Luke was working out doing chemo. So he said, I got my workout in. So all sorts of things like that. And the other part is, quite honestly, I've had many, especially fathers come up and say they're more intentional with their sons and their daughters now, having read all these posts. And I don't want to say they see my love for Luke, but that they kind of see the relationship that I had with Luke, which I say is tremendous. He might have not felt the same way. he might say, Dad, come on again. But they say they're more intentional with their own kids. And so I like to think Luke helped a lot of people while he was with us here on Earth. And I like to think he's still helping people from above.
Yeah, he is. All right, it's tough to transition, but we got to. Yeah, the Cowboys, right? Can they? Here's my question for you, because they're better than I think people gave them credit for before the season, and now we're starting to see that, right? How good is this team? Are they a playoff team, or is the defense at a place where it makes that really difficult to accomplish?
Well, the defense has to get better, I think, for them to consider themselves a true playoff team. The offense has been so good. Obviously, it's been carrying the defense. I'll say all season long. If they had just a little more defense, we'd be talking about them as one of the best teams in the NFC. And, there isn't that team. I always say, which team scares you, and there were times where, boy, New England scared you, or Baltimore at one point kind of scared you. But there's not that team really in the NFL now, even with Kansas City going through, for them, a struggle. Baltimore is down this year. There's not a team in the NFL where you say, wow, who's going to beat that team? So I think the Cowboys can insert themselves in that conversation, but they do have to play better defense. Now, on the positive side for the Cowboys, they are going to be getting some people back. DeMarvion Overshown, who I think is going to make a big difference.
He's
awesome. And he's going to come back here. They opened up his window. He started practicing, so he'll be back in maybe a week, maybe two. That's going to help them. They've got other guys. I won't go through the whole laundry list of players, but injured players on defense that will be coming back. So, a lot of teams, they lose their players and they lose them for the season. Washington last week, Dorrance Armstrong, he had a knee injury in a Cowboys game. He's done for the season. So you do get a little bit of a sense that the cavalry is coming for the Cowboys on defense. And it has to be, because let me just say, there's no way that they can sustain this offensive production. I mean, they are good. Yes, they have 2 good receivers. Yes, Dak is playing out of his mind, but it's just hard week in and week out, to put 35 points on the board, which is what they've been doing.
All right, 2 more questions for you. Dak has been playing out of his mind. What has enabled him to do that this year?
That's a great question. Now, I will say, I get texts after about each and every game from people and saying, hey, you may be right. Dak is getting better, or Dak, you may be right. Dak's pretty good. And I'm like, he's been good for a long time. He really has been. 2 years ago, he was second in the MVP voting to Lamar Jackson. So it's not like this came out of nowhere. The way, to an extent, Daniel Jones has this year, Sam Darnold did last year, where, Dak Prescott, his rookie year, they went 13-3. He had 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So he's been pretty good for a long time. But this year, it just seems to really be clicking for him for whatever reason. Maybe it's Brian Schottenheimer taking over the offense. But whatever it is, he has just been playing great. I can count on one hand the number of times he's missed an open receiver. And I mean NFL open, not 5 yards open. I just mean if a guy has a step on him, he's gonna put the ball there. He has been just extremely accurate. Usually he gets back to footwork, and I know that's been a focal point. It is each and every year, but his footwork's been great. He's been decisive with the ball and so confident. And I think when you are confident, then you become decisive. And that's exactly what he's been this year. And speaking of NFL Open, real quickly, I'll never forget my first mini camp. I'm up in Washington, and we run a simple route. Slot runs a corner, outside guy runs a little under route. Just kind of read it high-low, and I take the little 5-yard under route. I hit it, I complete it, and we're watching the film after practice that day, and the quarterback coach was running the projector back and forth, saying, hey, why didn't you throw the corner here, the corner route, the deeper route? And I'm thinking, boy, he's looking for some really esoteric answer here, trying to think what's he looking for, because he was covered, right? So I'm like, I just gave him the simplistic, because he was covered. So I took the completion, and he stops the projector. He turns and just looks at me. He said, that's open in this league. So our receiver had about a 6-inch, gap between him and the corner.
That's all you're gonna get.
Yeah, it's like, hey, and he just stopped. He turned, he looked, he said, it's open in this league. And I was like, this is gonna be hard. But you do come to realize, you watch a college game, you'll do one tomorrow. Guys will be running 5 yards open every third play.
Yeah.
Where you put the ball anywhere in the vicinity, nobody's around it. But in the NFL, that usually isn't the case.
I remember reading the quote, Peyton Manning's first year. He's talking to Arch, his father, and he says, Dad, nobody's open. He said, yeah, welcome to the NFL,
Yeah.
Hey, I got one favor to ask you. Next time, I listen to you and Brad whenever I get a chance, and you always talk about the Czech stop. We're presented by Slovacics. I got to get you over to Slovacics sometimes. Come on.
Oh.
When you're in West, you got to check out Slovacics. You're Babe Laufenberg.
I have been there, and it's phenomenal. And honestly, for the uninitiated, as you're driving from Dallas to Austin or just south, you got one on one side of the road on the highway and one on the other. So if I'm traveling south, I do hit it. If I'm coming back north, I just stay on the same side. But from here on, I will make sure I get to it.
Once in a while. Babe Laufenberg, dude. Hey, amazing. Thank you very much.
Hey, do me a favor, Pete. After we finish up here, somebody can send me your information, your address. I'll give you a Live Like Luke band, and I'll give you your Live Like Luke coffee mug. So when you're drinking coffee and you're having a rough day, you just look at that face, and he's got a smiling face. He's drinking coffee, and we do a fundraiser. And
anything people can know about the fundraiser.
If you go to UTEP, University of Texas El Paso, and if you just Google in UTEP Luke Laufenberg, we fund a nutrition station through the fundraiser that we do here, and they can contribute there. And very quickly, Pete, it's great. If you ever watch Myles Garrett playing on a Sunday, he's got the Live Like Luke wristband on. They were teammates at Texas A&M.
No kidding. I did not know. That's amazing.
Yeah, quick story. Luke is a
please.
preferred walk-on down there, so he's a freshman. Myles is in his junior year, but his last year. And I'm at Cowboys training camp. I'm covering Cowboys training camp. I knew Myles in high school here. So anyway, I called Luke one day. We're talking, and I said, Luke is at training camp with Texas A&M. So I said, Luke, what's it like blocking Myles? And he said, well, Dad, he said, if I lock out on him and I get my hands on him and I sink my weight, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this kid's delusional. Nobody, NFL tackles are not going to block Myles Garrett, let alone a walk-on tight end at Texas A&M. Anyway, he gives me all these things. If I do this, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what's he thinking? And then he said, I can hold him out for like half a second. And I said, well, what happens if you don't have good technique? He said, oh, he just throws me. I said, well, Luke, two things are going to happen. You're either going to get better because you're going against that guy every day, or you're just going to quit football and say, yeah, this isn't for me.
Hey, man, thank you so much for your time.
Okay, Pete, thank you. Have a great game. Yeah, have a great game tomorrow.
Yeah,
thank you
so much. All right, babe,
Appreciate
we'll be in touch. There he goes. That's awesome, man. Babe Laufenberg. I have been inspired by that guy for a long time. I can remember him. One of his first starts in the NFL, or at least with the Cowboys, was against the Eagles, if I remember, right around Christmas time. And he was such a neat guy that either CBS or I think it was CBS at the time sort of kind of gave a window into the personality that he was and the guy that he was because he was starting this big game in the NFL. And I was an instant fan, an Eagles kid, an instant fan at 10 years old. And it's cool to chat with him a little bit because you hear amazing stuff, and clearly he's even better in person. All right, that was Babe Laufenberg. We're done for the rest of the week. We'll be back on Monday. Going to go over to the facility and meet with Rich Rodriguez, and he's going to tell us how West Virginia can hopefully get it right against TCU. But that is it for the Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovacics. Thank you to all our sponsors. Thank you guys for watching while I'm on the road. Please like and subscribe. Thanks everybody. Have an amazing weekend.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Show. Sports.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.